Delaney, and this is Twice as Good. Today we're visiting one of the most important historical sites of the American Revolution, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philadelphia is located at the convergence of the Delaware and Schuylkill rivers in an area called the Delaware Valley. It's the largest city in Pennsylvania. It was founded by William Penn in 1682 and served as the capital of the Pennsylvania colony. Penn named the city Philadelphia from the Greek for brotherly love. During the Revolutionary War, Philadelphia was our nation's capital and served as capital again while our current capital, Washington, D.C., was being built. Philadelphia's most famous citizen was statesman, author, and scientist Benjamin Franklin. But those were just a few of his talents. Like his peers, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, whose homes we visited last season, Franklin was a polymath, which means he was remarkably gifted in a variety of diverse disciplines. We're standing in front of Independence Hall, the site where our founding fathers actually signed the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. Later, we'll be visiting the Franklin Institute to find out more about this founding father's fascinating life and learn how we can apply Franklin's wisdom to modern-day kitchen science. Agriculture has always played a huge role in Pennsylvania's economy, and thanks to its status as a major port, Philadelphians are also blessed with a bounty of fresh coastal seafood. Along with its abundant history, Philadelphia has a rich heritage of dining traditions, and nowhere are the two more perfectly combined than at today's featured culinary destination, the Moshulu. Today, the restored and converted ship serves as a fine dining restaurant. We're headed to Penn Landing, where the ship is docked, to meet with Executive Chef Anthony Bonett to see how he blends local history and regional ingredients on Moshulu's seasonal menu. The Moshulu is the world's oldest and largest square-rigged sailing vessel still afloat, and the only restaurant venue in the world on a tall ship. She was built by William Hamilton and Company of Port of Glasgow, Scotland in 1904. The RMS Titanic was built in 1912 in Belfast, Ireland, just a few years after the Moshulu took sail. The ship measures 359 feet from stem to stern on deck, 47 feet from her port starboard sides, and has a weight of more than 3,000 gross tons. The Moshulu's 34 sails are comprised of 45,000 square feet of canvas. If you laid them out on the ground, they would cover more than an acre of land. Mrs. Wilson, the wife of President Woodrow Wilson, gave the ship its current name to honor the Seneca tribe. Moshulu means one who fears nothing in the Seneca language.
So today we'll be making a fairly simple dish of a combination of chive gnocchi with some local wild mushrooms with spring ramps, and we'll be finishing it with the truffle butter. And this is a gnocchi that we make in-house, and it's different than a regular potato gnocchi in the fact that we make it with a pâte à choux dough.
Pâte à choux is a light pastry dough used to make profiteroles, croquembouche, eclairs, and Parisian gnocchi, which contains only butter, water, flour, and eggs. Instead of a leavening agent, it uses its high moisture content to create steam during the cooking process, which puffs the pastry.
So let's put our mushrooms in. Let's be careful about the hot oil. Hear that sizzling? That sounds great.
Smells so good already.
We have a secret ingredient here today that we're going to use, and this is called truffle salt. And that has black truffles in it, and that'll season our mushrooms with the truffle salt. You want to put some black pepper on the mushrooms?
Sure. Like that?
Okay, that's great. Let's toss them around. And so you can see we're getting some nice color on them. See how the beach mushrooms are starting to get brown?
Yes, they smell amazing.
Yeah, they smell awesome. Let's put in next our gnocchi, because we're going to saute the gnocchi with the mushrooms. So we can put the ramps in now.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, we don't need them all. It's a nice amount. And the leaves will just kind of wilt down real quickly. And now we'll put another secret ingredient in. We have some truffle butter. Well, this is a butter, compound butter that has black truffles pureed into it. And then we roll it into a log and we chill it. The truffles are very expensive, so we try not to just use the truffle butter. So we'll also put in this really nice shallot and herb butter to it. This is coming along great. We have nice color on our gnocchi. So I turned our heat down a little bit. And I think at this point, we'll take a little bit of chicken stock to kind of give it a little bit of moisture in it. Let's finish up with, we have some goat cheese here. And that's going to add like a nice little creaminess to the dish at the end. Because it's a pasta, we can always put some Parmesan cheese, and we have some Parmesan cheese at the end there. And I have a couple little microgreens that we can use to garnish with. These are edible flowers. These are chrysanthemums and nasturtiums. Now this is like when you're in a restaurant where you're trying to make things very nice for people, it's nice to add little touches at the end. It makes it a little more special. I think we're pretty good. What do you think? Are we almost ready to plate?
Yes, I think so.
So we have it looks very rustic and nice.
It does.
And then we're going to finish up with we have some yellow pea shoots that we can put on top. And these are some micro chives. And we can put some micro chives on top.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, it does. And let's finish with a little tiny bit of Parmesan cheese. And there's our dish.
It's like stir fry. So
Chive gnocchi with wild mushrooms, local ramps, and truffle butter.
One of the most recognizable symbols of American freedom is the Liberty Bell. The Liberty Bell is currently housed right here in the Liberty Bell Center in Philadelphia. We're here with Miss Terry Papa-Vasilis from the National Park Service, who will tell us all about this amazing national treasure. Why was the bell brought to Philadelphia in the first place?
The bell was brought to Philadelphia because this was used as a communications device. It was ordered in England to call the meetings of the Pennsylvania Assembly. Before, the building across the street behind us was known as Independence Hall, was the Pennsylvania State House.
Is it true that when they first rang the bell, it cracked and they had to remake it?
That is very true. So two guys, John Pass and John Stowe, we see their names on the front of the bell. They melted the bell down, they recast the bell, and that's the bell you see before you made in 1753. The bell cracked again because the bell was being used every day for 80 years. So with that big clapper underneath, swinging and hitting the front of the bell, it created a very small hairline fracture here on the front.
What are the two bolts in it?
The two bolts that you see here and here, along with the spider, the pieces of metal that are protruding from the bottom, were put there in 1914 to help stabilize the bell, to keep the bell from further cracking before it went for its final train trip to San Francisco, California in 1914.
Is the wood on the top original?
Yeah, the wood is American elm, and we believe that to be the original yoke that held the bell when it was above Independence Hall.
How did the Liberty Bell become such an icon of American liberty?
It started with the abolitionists in the 1830s of calling this the Liberty Bell, trying to gain recognition for freedom for all. And then after the Civil War ended in 1865, the bell was put on a train and taken throughout the country for everybody to see it. So by bringing the bell throughout the country, it was helping to reunite our country with the North and the South. It went from here all the way to California. And so the idea of freedom and equality for all was represented in this bell, and so that's why it became so important.
What does the bell mean to people who come see it each year?
Well, the bell means a lot of things to a lot of people. And some people see the repair job here on the front of the bell as the separation of the American colonies from England. Some people see it as the division of the North and the South during the Civil War. Some people see it as the difference of being male versus female, like with the Women's Liberty Bell. But even though this represents a division of one side versus the other, it also represents a mandate, if you want to think of it that way, of bringing us all back together. That this bell is not perfect, and our society is not perfect. Liberty's fragile, as is the bell is fragile.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what we would do to these to make them edible, since there are some inedible parts on the soft shell crab, the same as there are on hard shell crab. A couple steps that we want to take is first, you want to cut off the front face of it. So, and you can do that with the scissors. They have gills in them, and the gills are not good either. So there's the gills right there. So we'll take the gills off, because you don't want to eat those either, and they're on both sides. And there's one more step that we're going to do when we're going to remove this back part, is how you can tell whether they're male or female. That we're going to remove that back part too, because it ends up being a little bit chewy, so we'll take that part off too. And then we're left with a fully edible crab. The rest of the crab is edible. Take the regular mayo and take the black mayo, and let's start painting the plate.
What's in the black mayo?
The black mayo is a mayo that is made with squid ink. When you have fresh squid, they give off a colorant, and they take out this black pigment and they make it into a concentrated paste. And you can just mix that paste with mayo. We put a little bit of soy sauce and balsamic vinegar in it to give a little flavor. So let's put our bread right in the middle. And we're going to make a warm, kind of like a warm, real fast salad with the ingredients. So we'll take our small pan here, we'll put some oil in it. And this is just a light olive oil. And we're going to put in our sliced shallots and garlic. Okay, get a little sizzle. And this is not something where you really have to saute it much. We're just kind of going to make almost like a warm salad to put on top of the bread. So when the soft shell sits on top, and you get some nice flavor with it. And we have some marinated roasted tomatoes. So we got a little sizzle, and we got our tomatoes. These are called caper berries. Caper berries are really just very big capers. So we'll put our caper berries in there.
Looks really good.
Okay. And then we can finish with our preserved lemon. And here's one whole. And they're made by taking lemons, and you just salt them for a really long time. You pack them in salt and just leave them in there for like 3 months. We'll just finish with the parsley leaves, and we'll just put those in. I brought out a little bit of basil oil, so we'll put a little bit of basil oil at the end.
About how much?
I just put a little sprinkle, and this is very much like cooking to taste. You know, there's not necessarily recipe oriented, it's like technique cooking. And that's going to go on top of the bread. These are pretty big, and I think one's good for a portion because we're going to make basically an open-faced sandwich. So put your oil in, make sure your oil is not very hot, and we'll tilt our pan away. And we're going to put our crab right in there. It's going to splatter now because it has water. So, like I said, some people like to flour it, but you don't really need to. It's unnecessary. So I like my soft shell crabs kind of well done. I like them where they're nice and crunchy on the outside and they're cooked on the inside. So I'm going to let that cook for a minute, and while we're doing that, we can plate our warm salad on top of the brioche. So let's see, we have our nice combination of our ingredients here. And I said a lot of these ingredients are salty too, so you don't want to have to, that's another reason to not really add a lot of seasoning.
It looks really good.
Yeah, it looks tasty, doesn't it?
How long does the crab take to cook?
I think he's browning up nicely on that side, so I would say probably 2 to 3 minutes on each side. We're going to put a little bit of plain butter, and the butter will just help it brown nicely and give a little bit of rich flavor to it. You really are cooking almost maybe 60–70% on one side before you turn it over. So you can see our soft shell crab is looking great, and you can see that it's browned on this side, and I think it's really fully cooked at this point. Okay, so let's put our crab on the plate. And here's our soft shell crab on our open-faced sandwich.
Are we using any of these?
Yep, these are nasturtium leaves that are, oh, you know what? I wanted to put a little bit of lemon too on top. So let's put a little tiny bit of lemon on top of the crab. Put a little bit of the basil oil around the plate. We always want to make our plates pretty because we're in a nice restaurant. Voila.
Wow, so beautiful.
Soft shell crab with toasted brioche, preserved lemon, and roasted tomatoes with squid ink and garlic aioli.
Founding father Benjamin Franklin was regarded as one of the most brilliant men of his time. In addition to being a prolific author, political theorist, statesman, and diplomat, Franklin was also a scientist and inventor. Benjamin Franklin began his career as a printer. He also came up with the idea of the subscription library, where members would pool resources to purchase books for all to read. In 1731, he composed the charter for the Library Company of Philadelphia, which to this day remains a vital academic research resource. But next to his writing and political career, Benjamin Franklin is best remembered for his early experiments with electricity. Today, Franklin's scientific legacy lives on right here at the Franklin Institute. We're here with Dr. Frederick Bertley, Senior Vice President of Science and Education, to learn more about Franklin's work.
Hadley, Delaney, it's so good to have you here in the Franklin Institute, the house of all things Benjamin Franklin.
Can you tell us about this exhibit right here?
Well, we are in the electricity exhibit. What better way to celebrate Benjamin Franklin? And this exhibit really looks at how circuits are made. So when you think of turning on the light in your house or plugging your stereo and hearing, we have a circuit. It means electricity goes from one position around to close a loop. So what I want you to do, Delaney, is touch that ball over there, right? Do you see a light?
No, I don't.
All right, now touch this bulb over here.
Wow,
oh my gosh,
it lit
what
up.
happened? What do you think happened?
Did they connect?
They connected, and what happened is that electricity actually went around. You closed the loop around your arms and connected to this side. Lift up that hand. Hold my hand. What do you think is going to happen if I close this?
Will it light up?
Let's find out. Oh, look at that. So the electricity is going through you, then it's coming through me, and I'm closing the loop. Now let's see how big we can do this. I'm gonna hold your hand, but come all the way over here and touch this ball here. See what happens. Look at that.
I never thought that humans could create a circuit.
Can you imagine? So when they talk about magnetic or electric personality, remember, we can conduct electricity, and this proves it right here.
Is it true that Franklin flew a kite in the middle of a thunderstorm to test out electricity?
That's a great question. That's one of the biggest myths that's surrounding Benjamin Franklin. Obviously, he did tremendous work and was a pioneer with electricity. But in 1752, he actually wrote an experimental thing that could possibly happen, which was to fly a kite in the rain, put a key on the string, and maybe we can see how electricity conducts. No one's really sure if he actually did fly a kite, get soaked in the rain, and get zapped. We're not sure.
Can you tell us about some of his other inventions?
Sure. I mean, he's the person who came out with the bifocals. Imagine that in the 1700s, this idea of if you needed to see short distances and long distances, you'd have to put on 2 different pairs of glasses. Well, he came out with the bifocals, and we still have that technology with us today. Other things like swimming. You ever seen flippers that you use for scuba divers? Benjamin Franklin is the person who invented that.
How does the Franklin Institute carry on Franklin's legacy even today?
Delaney, that's a fantastic question in several ways. First of all, the Franklin Institute is actually the national memorial. So that big statue you saw earlier, that's the country's national memorial representing Benjamin Franklin. But also, the work we do really resonates with what he had in mind, which was he wanted to make sure people knew about science and scientific discoveries. So in his publications, he always wrote it for the masses so people can learn about this stuff. And that's really what the Franklin Institute is about today, to make sure that everybody, whether you're a scientist or a little boy or a girl or older person, that you can learn something about science that is for everyone.
We've learned so much about Benjamin Franklin today. Thank you so much for letting us be here.
You can come back anytime. We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You're welcome.
So what are we making?
We're making a budino today.
What is a budino?
It's Italian for pudding or custard. Let's put in 1 cup of dark brown sugar
Okay, sure.
and 1/2 cup of water.
What's the difference between dark brown sugar and light brown sugar?
It's the amount of molasses that's added to regular granulated sugar. So dark brown sugar has more molasses. And then we're going to add some kosher salt, 1½ teaspoons.
Okay.
Since the sugar is dark brown sugar and you can't see if it caramelizes or not, because it already looks dark, I'm going to put a little bit on this plate, and then as it caramelizes, I'm going to put some more on the plate, just like that, so we can see our starting point. And then as it gets darker, we'll know when it's caramelized. Let's take the eggs, and we're going to whisk in the cornstarch. When eggs cook, they coagulate and will thicken the pudding, and cornstarch also is a thickening agent. I think we're ready. See how much darker it is here than here? So let's add the cream and the milk. Be careful to pour it in slowly because it is hot and it's going to create some steam. Then it calms down a little bit. So it looks like it's come to a boil. So we're going to turn it off and we're going to add the cornstarch, the eggs, and the yolks. So as you can see, it's getting thicker. And I have it off the heat, and I'm just going to stir it for a few minutes. Okay, do you want to add the butter? Okay, so we're all finished. So why don't we assemble the dessert? In the bottom, I put chocolate shortbread cookies. Just, I guess, about 2 spoonfuls, whatever you like.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, and now I have some of the finished budino here in a bag. I've cooled it to
Is that enough?
put into the jars a little bit easier. Yeah, that looks great. All right, and now next, let's squeeze some caramel sauce on the top.
We love caramel.
Next, we'll add a little pinch of sea salt to bring out the flavors.
This is good.
The whipped cream, if you want to get the whipped cream bag, I would just mound it up there. Okay, and then we'll put a couple shortbread cookies on the top for decoration. I put 3.
What's after the shortbread?
Some chocolate curls to finish it off.
It looks really good. Yes, it does. It's really good. Mr. Mickey Maley is going to be cooking up a kitchen science experiment that would make Benjamin Franklin proud. So what are we doing here?
We're going to be making liquid nitrogen ice cream brownie pops. So what I have is a very special substance called liquid nitrogen. It's very, very cold.
Is it like dry ice?
It's even colder than dry ice. But what you're going to do today is you're going to make your own brownie pops. So Would you please put on these gloves for me? And there's a set of gloves for you right there.
Where does the liquid nitrogen come from?
So all around us is the air, and the air is made up of 78% nitrogen. And what people can do is they compress the air down so that it can get cold enough to be turned into a liquid.
You pick
You're gonna pick up a brownie and dip it into the ice cream. And now you can dip it into the liquid nitrogen. Nice and easy. And leave it there for a moment. And you can take it out. And if you want, you can dip it in the ice cream again.
Whoa.
What's really nice is you can also make layered pops. So let's say if you wanted to have both chocolate and vanilla. Dip into the vanilla, and you can dip into the nitrogen again. Hadley, you can dip into the chocolate. Good. Fantastic. That looks great. Okay, you can go into the there. Perfect. Well, how does your layered brownie pop taste?
Mmm, this is incredible. In this part of the country, a sandwich that's served on a long, split open roll is called a hoagie. But in other parts of the country, they're called heroes, subs, and even grinders. But no matter what you call it, a Philly cheesesteak is totally delicious. And Cosmi's owner, Mike Secchia, is going to show us how to make the perfect Philly cheesesteak. So how do we start?
All right, first thing, slap the steak on the grill. And then what we want to do is move it around a little bit. Get underneath it and keep doing that. Each time we cook it a little more and more until it gets golden brown. Definitely a staple of every Philly cheesesteak, fried onions. Some fried onions in there. You guys want to help me?
Sure.
Help me out. Let me see what kind of form you have. Let's move the onions into the steak and we'll flavor the steak. That's great. I think my job's in trouble. That's it. Each time, keep getting underneath it and try to get rid of that red. There you go. I'll finish it up for you. See how each time it's getting darker and darker.
Yes, it is.
We want it to be golden brown. We don't want it to be black because that means we did too much. We don't want to overcook it, but yet we want to make sure it's fully cooked. And we don't want to pound it to death, so we don't want all the juices to come out. See how you can see all them juices in there?
Yeah.
Keeps it nice and moist. So now what we do, we line it up the same size as our hoagie roll. And we go for the cheese. 1, 2,
Do you always use
3.
the same kind of cheese?
No, I think everybody has different likes. Some people like provolone, some people like American, some people like whiz. Some people actually don't get cheese at all, which would make it a steak sandwich and not a cheesesteak. Put it on top. See how you have them juices?
Yes.
That's why we don't pound it right there. That's going to make it all nice and moist.
That smells really good.
it up.
That smells so good.
Yes, it is.
Can you show us how you wrap it up?
Sure. Just come right over here. We cut them in half because they're too big to hold by themselves. Put a piece of wax paper so everything stays in nice and tight. And we just wrap it up. We go over the top, roll it up, and then we get a piece of tape. Your Philly cheesesteak at Cosmi's.
The building of Independence Hall was completed in the year 1753 and served as the original Pennsylvania State House. From 1775 to 1873, Independence Hall served as the central meeting place for the Second Continental Congress. Today, Independence Hall is the hub of Independence National Historical Park. There are many buildings of great historical significance in the park, including Christ Church, the Dolly Todd House, Congress Hall, Declaration House, Carpenter's Hall, and City Tavern, to name just a few. Our minds are still spinning from everything we've learned in the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a place that combines rich culinary history with modern-day favorites. Cooking traditions are meant to evolve. Don't be afraid to sample an unfamiliar ingredient or try out a different technique. Because when you honor the past but add a new twist, that's not just good. It's twice as good! For more information about the dishes prepared on today's show, including a listing of ingredients and the recipes, please visit us at twiceasgoodshow.com.
Choice is Good with Hadley and Delaney is brought to you by Mila. Immer Besser, forever better. Mila. And by Cuties. Cute you can eat. Cuties. And by KitchenWorks. Wherever we go, that's where the party's at. KitchenWorks.